This channel is for educational purposes only. Please do your own due diligence before making any investment decisions. Hi, this is Joe Rabil. Welcome back to Invest Like a Pro, and I'm going to talk today about the S&P, give you some detail. I want to go to my timeline chart, which I have been referring to a little bit more often. And then I'm going to go through the multiple time frame analysis, starting with the monthly, working our way down to the hourly. So let's go ahead and get things going here. Again, starting with my timeline chart. I call it timelines because we've got a daily 18, a weekly 18, a monthly 18, a quarterly 18, and a yearly 18, all on one chart. All of these different lines are showing what is going on each time frame's 18 MA. And the last time we discussed this, we had, I think, just failed. These lines were crossing down. The 18 week was crossing down through the monthly line. And then this was failing at the daily line and working its way back down. And look at what happened now just this week. We rallied up, tried to get things going. I'll show you when we get to the hourly what we were looking for in a little bit more detail. But notice if we just keep things simple and look at each time frame based on its 18, this rallied up to the daily 18 and failed. Now, I do notice a little bit of improvement in the volume pattern. Looks like a little bit better volume on the upside and maybe a little bit less on the downside. So we'll have to stay tuned for that. Again, when I get into the other side and look at the individual time frames, we can discuss that. But the key thing here is we are going to flip over into a new quarter this next. So this line is going to flip, and so is the monthly line is going to flip over into a new month. So a new quarter and a new month. I think this quarterly line is probably going to jump a little bit. I think this monthly line is actually going to roll over and turn down. So we're going to have the quarterly like this and the monthly like this. And this is basically you're sandwiched in between a very dangerous area. All right. I mean, this is really not the area that we don't want to have counteracting, big lines counteracting each other. If these two, we got a weekly and a monthly rolling over and then the quarterly moving up, I mean, it's going to be sloppy no matter how we look at it. It's not a great environment. I mean, this is the kind of environment where you make money. This is the kind of environment where you can lose money very quickly if you're just buying something or just selling something. The short side is going to be a tougher time too because we've come down to some bigger support zones. Now, I was just saying last time when we looked at this chart that I thought we could work our way back towards this quarterly line. I still think that's a potential. I would love to see. I mean, frankly, I think it would be awesome for the market and for just investment ideas and everything. Is if we can drop down to 3,500. Which is the 50% retracement of the whole move, get a volume spike on that drop, shows me some kind of a climax, and then maybe a reversal with some volume, and then turn things around from there. I would feel so much more confident than what we are right now. I'd like to see this get back down to this quarterly line and show some signs of volume, show some signs of a turn, climax, that type of thing. But just keep something in mind. As long as we're below this declining 18-week line, you gotta have to have a negative bias. Okay, that doesn't mean you can't make money off of this line up to there. And it doesn't mean that you can't buy individual stocks. But if you're going to do that, then you want to play with smaller size because you're kind of going counter to the market trend. So that's how I would look at it. I would say I'm willing to play, but I'm probably going to play with smaller size. I'm going to be very, very selective about what I do, and I'm probably going to have tighter money management principles, meaning if I buy a stock and it moves up, I'm probably going to take a little bit bigger profit than I normally would, and I'm probably going to raise the stop a little quicker because I'm looking to just take advantage of moves right now and not necessarily make a big win. I'm not trying to hit any home runs right now. All right, so I think this is a good starting point for this week. These two lines are going to come together. The 18-month is going to drop down. The 18 quarterly line is going to move up, and we're going to be inside of this range, in a sloppy range, which could rally a little bit more, or maybe it wants to weaken first before it rallies. But just be real careful until we see better signs of either climax or momentum divergence. Okay, let's get into our time frames. I've been saying for a while, we've been sitting at this 18-month line, 40-month moving average this whole month. Finally finished the month with a small tail. We got a small tail there. Nothing to really hang our hats on that make us feel all that great. Again, this 18-month line is going to roll over a little bit more. This is in a weakened position. It was in a long-term uptrend. It's in a weakened position after being overbought. The weekly chart is our main chart and the one that concerns me the most, because the momentum based on both MACD and ADX are confirming every decline. So we're looking for signs of divergence. That's if price comes down to 3,500, say 350 on the spider, and we get divergence where the red DI does not confirm, right? Makes a lower high, or maybe the MACD line rallies up and then can't make a new low. Something to hang our hat on this time frame that tells us that the selling is waning, and maybe we're ready for a much better retracement back to the upside. So far, it's just been small rallies on a daily chart. And so let's get down to this daily. We had this downward channel. We got into the oversold region. We've rallied up. Now, last week, I talked about getting through this 3,800 level, and I thought that would be a short-term and positive. And I still feel that it's helping a little bit, but what we needed was a test of that line after moving up. And I really wanted to see it get through the 18 and then come back and test. So if you notice what happened, we just failed right at the 18, which is below a declining 40. We have a declining 18, a declining 40. They're moving down at about the same rate. We rallied up to that. We didn't get through the 18. We failed at it and then turned down. So I'm not overly encouraged, but I do see some slight improvement in the volume pattern. We tried to make a comeback today. We actually closed above where we opened today. So that is a little bit encouraging. But let's just look at this hourly chart, because we made a pretty strong move up, came back down, and then made a really decent move to the upside, right? I mean, we got up through this 3,800. I drew the horizontal line. This was this 3,800 level. We got through it pretty decently, but we want to see this test. This is what I was saying last week. I wanted to see a test of that level and then turn up from there. And I think that would have been much more encouraging. In fact, because if we would have pulled that off, I think we would have gotten through the 18-day moving average. I don't really like getting overly bullish in one time frame when it's taking place below a declining 18 on the next higher time frame. Okay, I hope this is clear, because you can get caught up in a lot of this movement, and if you don't have confirmation on the next higher time frame, then you're just running into the next resistance. So that's essentially what happened here. Now, if we can stabilize, hold these lows here that we're coming down and testing again and turn back up, then the next time up, we're going to be doing it above the 18-day moving average. So we're still kind of trading, and I call it a balance point. The 3,800 on the S&P, 380 on the spider is acting kind of like a balance point. You see how we're spending time above and below it. We need to kind of break away from that, and it has to act as support or resistance. Right now, it's kind of like trading around it. We need it to move up and hold that line and prove itself. And that's kind of what I'm waiting for. Now, if we can get through the 18-day and then come back and hold that, that would be kind of like the next level up. And then I don't necessarily have to worry about 3,800, but we don't have that yet. There's small signs of improvement, but nothing that we can feel all that great about yet. Okay, stay tuned. I think we're getting closer. Now, one thing I want to mention about the sentiment is that sentiment jumped from -18 to -7 in 1 week. I mean, that's a pretty big jump. That had me actually a little worried. I don't like it when it reacts that quickly. I would love to have seen this rally and actually have people get more bearish or stay the same down in that negative territory. But this tells me that people are looking for a bottom. They're looking for a reversal. And I normally you want to when you're making a really important low, people kind of give up. So keep these kind of things in mind. We're waiting for real strength on the daily chart right now, which would help us to stabilize the short-term pattern. But don't get all that excited until we can get above this 18-week line. 18-week line, and it's not really showing here, but if I start bringing up certain stocks, big stocks, look at something like JP Morgan. You see how this failed at the 18-week and then failed again at the 18-week? I could bring up stock after stock after stock that is failing at its 18-week line. So let's not get overly excited until we see the S&P get through its line. Now, the trend line's slightly lower than the 18 weeks. So yeah, you could look at the trend line and maybe this could get a little bit better ahead of the trend line. But the reality is it needs to get through that line before we can improve our bias. It doesn't mean we can't make money trading, but the bias is still down below that line, in my opinion. All right. So anyway, that's the update for the week. Go ahead and post any questions or comments. Thanks.